Welcome to Best in Faction,
a podcast about playing Warhammer 40k competitively.
Is that what it's about? Okay.
Ostensibly.
A podcast about Charity Hammer and playing a little bit of 40k.
Yeah. And sometimes we play 40k. I'm Colin.
I'm Mitch.
I'm Chuck.
And we are always polished with our intro. I think that's really part of our brand.
That's what we're
I work on something every time. You gotta keep it lively.
You work on something every time and then practice carefully to make sure it sounds like you didn't practice it? Is that the idea?
Days worth of it's hard to act like you're not acting.
It's hard to act as mildly competent as we all are. Like it's really
it shows mastery really.
Well, welcome to Best in Faction 109, which I have currently titled the best title ever, because I don't actually know what the title is going to be. I am Colin, and let's see how Mitch is doing.
I'm doing okay. I had a really great time running Storm last weekend, and it was a really fun event. Got me. I think right now everything is changing so quickly with the meta, with Tyranids, and just everything happening all the time right now that it's easy to feel kind of lost in the rules and everything going on. And you're not feeling like maybe you have a complete handle on what's going on, but to go and see like 80 people just playing 40k, having a really good time, kind of recenters your perspective, and that was really nice.
Yeah, I echo that a lot. I often feel like we talk ourselves into a frenzy about how awful things are, and then I go to a tournament and I'm like, actually, I enjoyed every game I played, and that's totally fine.
Yeah. And as a judge, it's the same thing. I'm like, oh yeah, no, everyone had a great time. Like, yeah, some people's shit got pushed in, but they were still laughing about it. So it's easy to get stuck in our digital tower of what's going on in the game as we look out on the meta, but when you actually go out into the fields and play the games, it's pretty good.
Yep.
I was supposed to go to that tournament, and then Wednesday-ish, I had a real-life issue that was going to stop me from going, and then Thursday, I got crazy sick and couldn't have gone anyways. So I had the double whammy. I'm pretty sure it's Chuck's fault that I got sick. That's the best I can come up with.
Me?
Well, you were sick the week before. You were super sick, but it wasn't COVID. And then you came to the RTT, and then Paul and I both got really sick with not COVID. So I think it's just convenient to blame you. I think it's really the...
Most explanations are just convenient ways to blame people. So I think
exactly right.
In the tradition of explanations,
I feel like it can't possibly have been a random happenstance, because that's not what we talk about on our show. We talk about making things happen.
You can't blame the dice. The RNG of life.
That's right.
Not.
Guys, I got to tell you, it wasn't COVID, but I couldn't believe how sick I got. I still have a little bit of a cough, and it's been like 10 days. The whole family got sick, and again, nobody ever tested positive for COVID, but the whole family got sick. So I stayed home and played video games all weekend while they went and played at Storm, which was a major bummer for me. I was really excited to go. I have not gotten to go to a major tournament in years at this point because of COVID, followed by my real life shenanigans. So I hopefully this will be resolved soon.
We'll tell you. We'll bring one to you.
You'll bring a GT to me. I don't know that it's going to be a major.
Oh, sure.
The Best in Tabletop Open is in just a few weeks. We're at about 40 people. I'd love to get more like 50 or 60. I don't know if there's time left to do that. I think there's just there's a number of things. Originally, when we decided to do the Best in Tabletop Open, the idea was we'd give people a lot of warning, and a bunch of our listeners would fly in.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple things that are wrong with that. One is that I did not do a good job getting people the dates quick or the location quickly. That's because, if I'm honest, it was a lot harder to plan it than I thought it was going to be. It's probably a thing I'm going to start planning a month after Charity Hammer this year and have a full year to plan it, because it was really awful. The hotels were just terrible to work with. They were non-responsive. They didn't seem to want our business. It was really frustrating. So that happened. And then the other thing that's happened is there's this fuel prices crisis. That's fun. That is just jacked airfare. And so our idea that a bunch of our listeners would fly in, some of them have reached out and been like, I'd love to. Can I come next year? Because flights from, Alabama or whatever are $2,000, and it's like, oh, okay. Yeah,
I love
don't
their
do that.
optimism that they think we'll still have the capability of flight next year. It's very positive. I like that outlook.
Okay. I don't know what to say about that, Mitch. So we also have had similar problems with Charity Hammer. Some of the people that were scheduled to come to Charity Hammer, frankly, had to reach out and say, "Hey, look, my family, we can't responsibly handle the financial hit of how expensive airfare is right now." So we've had to fill in Charity Hammer with a few more locals than we did last year. But honestly, you guys aren't going to be able to tell the difference, because in true Colin style, we have added a significant amount more to Charity Hammer this year, as we are wont to do. So we will talk about that in great detail. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to give a short update of Best in Tabletop, because we haven't done that in a little while. Then we're going to talk about Charity Hammer, and this is going to be your Charity Hammer primer. This is going to be everything that you need to know about Charity Hammer in order to watch and enjoy and participate. Then we're going to talk about the Storm of Silence, which is the first major ever that this show covered. I think 4 years ago, something like that.
Yep.
Our first episode is called It Began with a Storm. That's from Storm of Silence. So we'll talk about that wonderful tournament that now, 5 years ago I won, and Mitch wasn't there because you had just been at BAO.
Mm-hmm.
You had just gotten second and undefeated at BAO.
Yep.
And Storm was like the week after. And we hadn't met yet, you and I, also. No, that's
No.
Harvester that I'm thinking of. Storm is the one after that.
Yeah.
Storm is the one I took the triple test track faults to. That's the one. That's when
it's where
Colin
we learned that just because a mechanic is obviously really good, taking 3 of them doesn't make it better.
Well, it makes it better, but it doesn't necessarily make it good.
Yeah,
How about that?
Yeah.
So, all right, and then so that's what we're going to do today. Let's start with a quick Best in Tabletop update. I have messed something up on the YouTube side, and our membership area is currently turned off. It should be turned on in the next few days, early this week. If you are a member, you're not being charged right now. Nothing about your access is in trouble. Nothing about Best in Tabletop's in trouble. I just misunderstood a YouTube error message that I received over and over again. Okay, I didn't resolve an issue that I should have resolved. We'll just put it where it's at. We'll own this. I did not have the appropriate paperwork to continue having the membership area. So, getting resolved. If that's inconvenient to do in any way, let me know. I don't think it's bothering anyone other than all of the 3 or 4 dozen people that are in there got messages saying it was turned off, and we're like, what? So I just thought I'd tell you guys. Some of our shows are on a brief hiatus. Charity Hammer's in 2.5 weeks, well, really 3 weeks from now. Chasing the Narrative is on hiatus. A few other shows are going to be less frequent over the next 2 weeks, probably BIFPOD for one of them. It's just a lot. Charity Hammer's a lot. So don't worry about Best in Tabletop. We're just as committed as we've always been. We're going to continue releasing content quickly. The bit reps have slowed down a little bit. We are going to release 2 bit reps a week going forward. They've slowed down because Charity Hammer's coming. So, and also we're going to make, just as a side note, we're going to make bit reps out of games from Charity Hammer. That's the thing we're going to do. So the games for some of the games for Charity Hammer will end up being shortened bat reps on our channel so that you don't have to watch 3 hours per game. So that's what's going on with Best in Tabletop. All our shows are going strong. I think at this point, BIFPOD and Fight Club are the most downloaded and listened to shows, which is kind of fun. Fight Club is right there with us, guys. They're hanging right with us in numbers after, I think they've been out a lot, 15 episodes, maybe 14 episodes.
All I'm hearing is most people are sleeping on TNG.
TNG is strongly in second place behind Fight Club and BIFPOD. TNG I actually listened to TNG on my business trip last week, and I was like, oh, I see. So this is the format that we made for BIFPOD, only they've improved it. Huh, I see.
That's what happens.
The way they talk about games is really fantastic. If you guys if you like this show and you haven't listened to TNG, you're missing out. TNG is, Tyler and Lucas and Nick have done an amazing job of copying the vibe of our show and really adding into it their youthful enthusiasm. So that's been really great. All right, so that's just going on with Best in Tabletop. We're going to have merchandise for sale soon. I'll let you guys know when that happens. I'm just throwing that out there in case you're excited about that. Okay, So let's talk about Charity Hammer. And this is particularly fun because Charity Hammer is a tornado of chaos 3 weeks out from Charity Hammer. I'm making changes daily to resolve issues. I'm delegating things to people. They're getting them done. And in all of that, Mitch probably knows very little about what's happening. Chuck knows very little about what's happening because I don't have a good way to communicate everything to everyone quickly because everyone's busy. So I think what makes sense, guys, is I'll share some stuff from Charity Hammer and you guys can ask questions to help the audience and help yourselves. I feel like that will.
Good.
Sure. And then I think Chuck is on Grim After Dark tomorrow talking about Charity Hammer.
That's the rumor. I'll need some
talking
details.
About Charity Hammer. So it might be good for us to talk about Charity Hammer so that Chuck can talk about Charity Hammer.
So I know what to talk about tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. Let's spend a few minutes for the people that are new to Charity Hammer, because I'm sure there's some of those are. I'm sure we have some different listeners than we had last year at this time.
Oh God, I hope.
Well, I don't know. Okay, Charity Hammer is a stream event that we do annually for the Child's Play charity. Child's Play is a charity. If you know Penny Arcade, it's the guys that started Penny Arcade. They have a multi-million-dollar charity that raises money for children's hospitals. Now, specifically, what the money for children's hospitals is for is toys and games and help with electronics and things like that. Because when these kids are at the hospital, it's very hard for them. It's very hard for the parents. And one of the big things that was missing was a way to entertain the kids, to make the kids happy. That Patch Adams movie with Robin Williams, that's just a real thing. People that are happier, it is much easier for them to heal and deal and go through the treatments and such. So they decided to try to get games into hospitals. They also do a lot of stuff now with domestic abuse shelters. So they've kind of expanded their purview a little bit. Also, we've had some questions in the past about whether this is a international charity. It is. You can go to childsplay.com and there's a list of the countries it's in. I know that Australia, England, Canada, US all have it. I don't know where else they are. So we wanted to do something for them. And 4 years ago, when Charity Hammer started, there was also very, very little competent streaming of competitive 40K. There was lots of narrative 40K being streamed. Mini Wargaming was doing their thing. Some other shows were doing their thing. And we basically looked at that and said, how can we get the really good players on and have them talk about playing 40K? Now, that's not as rare now with Art of War doing all the stuff, and Tabletop Titans and Play on Tabletop and us. There's lots of that. But Charity Hammer still leads the way on that, I think. I think we kind of evolve on how we stream each year and try to make sure that it's really the best thing it can be. And we've done that again here. And I'm going to talk to you guys about what we've done, right? How we've improved it yet again. But the basic idea is it is a Thursday morning, 8 a.m. Pacific. These times roll in Pacific. Sorry if you're not in the Pacific time zone. It's okay. 8 a.m. Pacific to 4 p.m. on Sunday. That is 80 hours. We are going to go 80 hours. We're going to run 4 streams. It's really 3 tables. We'll talk about that too. But we're going to run 4 streams for 80 hours, and none of them are going to stop. We're not going to go dark. We're not going to turn it off. We're not going to have hour-long breaks. We're going to make content that whole time. The best people we know, and when I say the best people, I don't mean the best at 40K. The best people, the best attitudes, the best personalities, the best ambassadors are going to come out here, and they're going to play 40K against each other. We have a stream host on every single table to watch the chat and make sure you guys know what's happening and interact with the players if things get confusing. We're going to have commentary to help you understand. We're going to do all of this structure. We're going to have MCs that are talking through the event with you. All of this structure is going to be in place so that you guys can follow along and have just a great time, okay? So that's the basic gist of Charity Hammer. Before we talk through the agenda and the players, do you guys have anything you want to add? You guys are both obviously OG founders of Charity Hammer as well. Anything in particular you want to mention before we go into the agenda and players?
Well, you already mentioned it. We're going to talk about it a little bit in the agenda, but the part of not going dark, we play the entire time. A lot of the people who are here are going to be a little short on sleep maybe and a little bit crazy. And if you happen to be up 3 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, I highly recommend you pop in there and check that out.
Yeah.
Because if we have competitive content during the day, but in the evening we have people doing some crazy stuff, and
because they're tired.
Yes, the night belongs to us weirdos.
Yeah.
I
love that
was
album.
actually I was going to echo what Chuck's saying there. If you're an international listener, you're like, oh man, my time zone, I'm never going to be able to watch anything they're doing during the day. You are not. I mean, you are missing out on that stuff, but you have something else to go and watch, which is just insane games of 40K, where people may have just played 3 games, or they may have had to be in a tournament and now they're doing this game and it's with an entirely different army. It's a lot of interesting scenarios that you're not going to encounter on a typical stream game. So a lot of fun.
Yeah.
In fact, last year there was a game between Falcon and John Quinnell from Grim After Dark, where while they were playing, Falcon was explaining in detail the plot to the movie My Girl to John Quinnell. And that may not sound funny, but it was amazing. We also had the game the previous year where Falcon and Danny played for the first time, and Danny actually adopted a falcon and presented it to the certificate to him. So lots of fun things there. It really is crazy. We do like to put Mitch on stream in the middle of the night in particular. Mitch is basically lifestyle that sleep is overrated.
I mean, not by choice. It's just the way it goes, unfortunately. I love sleep, but it doesn't love me.
No, it's a jerk. I'm actually on some new meds that wake me up. Where I'm waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning after like 6 hours of sleep, and my brain's like, "Okay, we're awake," and I'm like, "Brain, I don't think this is cool." So I'm a little bit of Mitch. I'm still getting 6 hours of sleep, which is like 3 Mitches.
Well, brag about it, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so who's coming? It is a hodgepodge of cool people you know from before, like John Lennon, Anthony Violence, Seth, us, obviously. All the TNG guys will be there. Nathan from, I think, who I believe is called Dr. Statstad now. He'll be there from Fight Club. We'll have Sean Naden's coming for the first time. That's significant news that we should share. We've got Tempe like we always do. We've got, let's see who else we got. John Quinnell and Danny are both going to be there. Matt Evans is coming for the first time. Matt Evans won the Storm of Silence, which we're about to talk about. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to Matt and I'm like, hey, how come you've never been to Charity Hammer? He's like, you haven't invited me. And I'm like, okay, well, you're invited. And now he's coming. Also from that weekend, Jesse Sell won BAO. I also know Jesse. He's also now coming to Charity Hammer. So we got both those guys coming. Steve Trimble, who's probably the local player who's won the most tournaments in the past year in the Pacific Northwest. He'll be there. Mitchell Hunter is going to be there. This is a name you guys might not know, but is someone to watch out for. Mitchell is from Idaho. He is a phenomenal Custodes player. He beat Hank at the GT that I can't remember the name of, Tau Tipping, I think, that we just covered a few episodes ago. He is really, really good. He beats everybody in his local region. It'll be fun to get him out here and have him get to play against some new people. The Dark Tower guys from Dark Tower Games are going to be here, JT, Lee, and Noah.
Talk about ambassadors for the game.
Oh, yeah. And in case that wasn't enough, in case that's not enough bearded brilliance, we also have JT McDowell and Jason Bird coming. So we've got there's some very serious beard game happening this year at Charity Hammer. And of course, Alex Booth will go back for I believe Alex was at the very first one. Pretty sure he was.
He was?
Yep. And then, there's more people here. It's 40 people altogether. But as you can tell, there's a lot of very good players and a lot of people with very good attitudes, which is the whole idea. Okay. So what are we going to do? Well, first of all, you're just going to watch, and it's free, the whole thing, and it's all recorded. You can watch any of it after the fact. You can watch any of it live. And there's going to be 4 different streams to watch live. The first stream is going to be on Best in Tabletop's YouTube channel. And so go subscribe now, because that way you'll make sure that you get all the notifications. And that's going to be a meta stream, like they do at the GW Opens and the big FLG events. That stream is going to have commentary the whole time, even 3 o'clock in the morning, it looks like, based on how we're doing. It's going to have commentary from Scary, from Dustin Henshaw, from Adam Camilleri. It's going to have commentary from the best in the business that do commentary. It's going to be really cool. And also that stream is going to be broken. We're going to break from that stream. And that stream will watch all 3 tables. So if you want to watch Charity Hammer in its full and you want to really understand what's happening, that stream is going to have a master of ceremonies that interrupts and comes in with silly things, interviews, weird stuff. Middle of the night, that'll be Mitch emceeing. Excuse me. So that's going to be this kind of major stream with interruptions and interviews and all types of different stuff to give you the full Charity Hammer experience start to finish. And if you say to me, Colin, that sounds great. However, I really value that at Charity Hammer, you always have player audio because I want to hear the players play the game. That's fine. We know that there's a percentage of you that prefer that. So each of the individual tables will also have its own stream going the entire time. So if right now there's 3 games going on and you're only interested in game number 2, you can just watch game number 2, or you can do the red zone style and watch the kind of aggregated coverage that's covering everything. All told, it'll be 80 hours across all of that. So what do we ask you from you? Well, we ask you to donate, and you can start donating now. The link is on charityhammer.com. You can go to charityhammer.com. Everything's up to date there. I do need to update the agenda. This event, by the way, is June 23rd to 26th. Thursday morning, the 23rd, Sunday, the 26th. You can go to Charity Hammer right now, and you can donate. And every $30 that you donate gets you into the raffle. There's charityhammer.com. Every $30 gets you into the raffle. You don't need a raffle ticket. You don't need to message us. If you donate $150, you're in 5 times. If you donate $300, you're in 10 times. If you donate $30, you're in once. It's very straightforward. And then we give out loot the entire time to the people that raffle. And I'll tell you that we end up with thousands and thousands of dollars of prizes that we give away. Last year, something crazy like a quarter of the list won something. Like it was just silly. So that's not right, probably, that quarter of the list number thing I just said. I think my memory is wrong, but it was a lot of people that won something. The grand prize is a $1,200 gift certificate to Hammerhead Games. So, like, you could donate $60, help some sick kids, and then you could find out at the end of Charity Hammer that you get to buy a whole new army from Hammerhead Games on us. Like, that's what's up. Second, I don't know what second and third place will be at, but we have box sets. We have the Orc box set from last year that we have one of those. We've got there's a Blood Bowl box set in there's a big pile of this stuff. We've got a Land Raider. We've got a Storm super heavy guard tank. I don't know which one it is. We've got a bunch of Chaos Demons, a bunch of unopened bloodletters. We just 2 Moraxes. Did they get fixed? Did they work? They did
get fixed, and that kit makes every version of the Guard Super Heavy tank. So,
oh no, it doesn't. It does not. You have to buy if you want to buy a Shadow Sword, you have to buy the Shadow Sword sprue.
Not anymore. I thought they put it all in one.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, regardless, it makes a pretty good Orc kill tank.
Yeah. The only thing you have to buy now is if you want the extra sponsons.
We were talking to Sean Naden in preparation of Charity Hammer, and he was making a kit-bashed battle wagon out of just the sides of the super heavy tank and not the middle, cool. Just the tracks together. And it was so cool, and I could see Chuck's eyes that was like, oh my God, I want this so much. Mm-hmm. Have you bought one yet, Chuck?
No, I'm not buying anything for right now. I have Chaos Space Marines to fund.
Yeah.
Oh, fair.
Priorities.
That is completely fair. All right, so Fred says, 3 hours into a 15-hour car ride to Gulf Shores, all with 3 kids and wife. Headphones on, and this show is saving my sanity. That's great, Fred. Fred will be at Charity Hammer. I didn't mention Fred's name, but he'll be there.
Yeah, probably win it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he was the dark horse at the qualifier GT last year.
That's right, he was. So, guys, I can't tell you enough what a critical charity this is. We've raised $100,000 for them over the past 3 years. This is a very serious thing for us. We do not pocket $1 from what you donate, nor do we use any of the money you donate to run the event. We don't use it to pay for food. We don't use it to pay to get people out here. None of that. All of it goes to charity. Also, it is tax deductible if you're in the US. Obviously, I don't know about taxes in other countries. So you can also deduct whatever you donate. What's that, Mitch?
But I don't know about taxes in this country, so you're already ahead of me.
Fair enough. You should go, though, and donate now, because in the week before Charity Hammer, which is about 2 weeks from now, we're going to have a big primetime BIFPOD live extravaganza with John Lennon, with some of the other kind of, which I'm going to see if we can grab Sean Dane and get him on here. We're going to do the big, here's the GT and here's the pairings and here's how it's all going to work. We're going to do the big kind of Charity Hammer. And when we do that, I'm going to give away prizes worth hundreds of dollars on that very episode. I'm going to start giving things away right then, and anyone who's donated to that point can win, and then you can continue donating as we get into the show, into Charity Hammer. So go get donating. It's perfectly fine to start. There's no difference donating now or donating during the event, other than it is more encouraging if you donate now. Now, here's something that you may not know that I read about running about doing this. The more donations we get early, the more donations we'll get in total, because when people look at the donation page and they see the dollar amount there, the more that number is, the more likely they are to participate. Isn't that fun? So if you guys, yeah, because it's momentum. So if you guys are planning to donate anyways, if you think, well, I always donate to Charity Hammer, I love Charity Hammer, could you donate now? And I know that I'm being a little bit pushy here, but you donating now will tell other people that this is a big thing that's worthwhile, and other people will donate. I was so blown away by how quickly we got to $40,000 last year. I want to get to $50,000 this year, and I'm a little bit like, yeah, I'm sure it's going to happen. I'm not really sure, but I'm sure it's going to happen. Like, there's a whole part of me that's just like, what if nobody donates this year? That's obviously not going to happen.
Well, those are all really good and thought out reasons, but I love to see that number big when the Charity Hammer starts. So just do it for me. Just to make
do it for Chuck. Yep.
I like to walk in there and ask you and be like, "Oh, we're halfway there. Sweet, let's do this."
we had passed the previous year's Charity Hammer almost before we went live last year. It was really neat. So I'm going to give away prizes on that episode. That's going to be in a couple weeks. I'm going to give away prizes at the keynote the morning that Charity Hammer starts from 8 to 9 o'clock. There's going to be a keynote. We've got a whole presentation set. It's going to be really neat. We're going to give away stuff there. So the minute Charity Hammer starts, we're giving stuff away to people that have already donated. So if you wait to donate, you don't have as good of a chance to win. There you have it. I think the final thing we'll talk about for today about Charity Hammer is the agenda. So it starts Thursday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific. And we're going to do an hour of this is Charity Hammer. This is what's going on. Here's who's here. And in that, we're going to debut something fun, which is the data from our Charity Hammer 2022 community survey. You guys hopefully have already seen this link going around Reddit and Facebook. It's certainly been making the rounds, but we have a survey. The link will be on this YouTube video. The link is also on charity.hammer.com at the very top of the page. And it is a quick survey that lets you tell us about your experiences with 40K. That survey, one of the people that fills it out will win a $200 gift card to sponsor Dark Tower Games. Dark Tower Games will send you stuff. Don't worry that if you're not local to them, but just filling out the survey gets you a chance to win $200. That survey has questions like, what's your least favorite faction? What's your favorite faction? How long have you been playing 40K? How many GTs do you go to a year? There's a lot of great questions in there. And what we're going to do is our data analysis team of Curry and Cliff and Nathan are going to put this data together and into super amazing and entertaining factoids that we're going to share throughout Charity Hammer. So we'll get to say things like, and 70% of the community that's been playing for longer than 20 years hates Eldar the most. Like, I don't know if that's true. It probably is, but that's not, I was just making something up. So we're going to have some very fun community survey questions to talk about. That data will not be seen by anyone but the data team prior, so we're all going to be seeing it for the first time. And we're also going to be doing trivia on it. We're going to pull some of the Charity Hammer folks on stream and ask them trivia questions about what the community thinks. Should be absolutely hilarious. So that is 8 a.m. Thursday morning. After that, we immediately launch into two things: the worst RTT and the Outward Realms tournament. So the Outward Realms tournament, Outward Realms is a diamond sponsor for Charity Hammer. Thank you so much, Michael Tempe. We're huge fans of Outward Realms. All of us, Mitch, Chuck, and I, all own armies. None of us got them for free. We all paid our own actual money for them. We believe in this game. Michael's our friend. I'm just trying to make sure that we're not just shilling for him because we got free loot.
No. It's also a good game.
It's a fantastic game. It plays quick. It's easy to learn. It's got good depth. It's got great models. So what we're going to do is take a bunch of painted armies and give them to the TNG guys, to Lucas, Nick, and Tyler, and also Chuck. And we're going to have them play a single elimination tournament, which is 3 games. So there'll be 2 games, and then the winners of those games will play. While that's happening, 8 players, Naden, Lennon, Anthony, Seth, number of other people, Fred, are going to play in the worst RTT. Now, the worst RTT is each of them is going to make a terrible list from their favorite faction. And when I say a terrible list, I don't mean I brought a Warhound Titan, I'm so clever. No, it has to look like a list, and it has to have combos in it that make sense, even if they're terrible. Mitch is playing in this too, by the way.
My list is already submitted.
Okay, well, we're reviewing the list and working with people to make them as terrible as possible. So I'm excited to go.
Oh, I'm pretty confident.
Okay. What faction is your terrible list?
Imperial Guard.
Is it Mono Guard?
Mono Guard.
Now, see, I think taking the worst army in the game is a little bit cheating, but okay.
It's the army I actually play, though. It's the only time in 9th edition as a guard player I have felt spoiled for choice for units.
Damn.
Okay.
I don't think the guard's going to recover from that.
Should not have drank my tea while Mitch said that. I almost had a spit take.
It was impressive and depressing at the same time. Yeah. I sent it to Adam Camilleri, and he's like, "Dude, I would cry if I had to play this." So
okay, yeah. So they're all making terrible lists, and if you think that one's great, wait till you hear about the Craft World shenanigans that Sean Naden has created. And also there's a Space Marine list, which totally looks like if you saw it, let's say you got paired into the Space Marine list, you would presume that the models are going to be amazing when you got to the table because of how bad the list is. So they're all going to make terrible lists, but then we're taking the terrible lists and we're redepositing them. We're giving them out to different players. You don't get to play your own terrible list because at the end of the tournament, we're going to have two awards. One, who made the actual most terrible list? Regardless of how they did, who made the most terrible list? And we're going to have the podcast decide that with Falcon and probably Nanavati. Like we're going to do a show and we're going to talk about these lists and decide which one is the most terrible. And then you also can win by winning with your terrible list that you've been handed. So if you are able to make the most terrible list and win the most with the terrible list that you're handed, you could potentially be a double threat in this event. So that is all day Thursday. The final is later in the weekend, but the first several rounds of that are on that Thursday. And I'm really excited to see units on the table that like, oh man, Mitch, did you put 3 Death Strikes in your list? Never mind. I don't want to know.
How about this? 2 words. Weird Vein Psychers.
Yeah.
Ooh.
15 of them?
Actually, the maximum number you can run is 18.
Oh, 18. Oh, they come in 6.
That's how I know.
With extra blast damage.
So, that's what's happening on Thursday. Then in the Thursday, we'll get into our normal exhibition games. I know that we've got Naden and Lennon playing, which is fun. I don't know if you guys have seen them play before, but they play each other usually only in high-stakes games. It's really fun to watch those guys play. 2 of the 4 people we have coming from Team USA from the WTC. Mm-hmm. I think it's 4. Anyways, so that's happening on Thursday. Then Friday morning is when it all gets lit, yo, as the young people used to say. We've got a GT, 32 people, seeded by ELO. Now, ELO is a thing that's very common in the competitive video game world, but basically the idea is when I play Mitch and one of us wins, we each have an aggregate number that gets modified based on who wins and who loses based on what both of our levels are when we come into that game. So we're able to take algorithms and math and go back through years of 40K performance and all the data that's being captured now, and we're able to actually rank how good a person's wins actually were and get a ranking of 1 to 32. Then from there, we seed it like March Madness. 1 plays 32, 2 plays 31, like that. I guess if it was March Madness, it'd be like multiple sets of 8 or 16, but whatever. And then there's going to be a bracket, and you can also win stuff in fact, let's have them win a night. I don't know which night it's going to be. We'll get somebody to donate one. You're going to win it. You're going to win. Let's see if we can get one of the new Chaos Nights. In fact, one of the Big Daddy Chaos Nights. You're going to win a Chaos Night. I don't know where it's coming from yet, but you're going to win a Chaos Night if you accurately predict that challenge bracket. So that's going to be a thing as well. That is a single elimination tournament that starts Friday morning, excuse me. Now, you might be worried that your favorite players will lose out in the first round. That's okay. There's a losers tournament throughout the event as well for the people that lost in the first round that get to continue playing. That tournament continues all the way through Sunday, and then on Sunday, there's a big fat final, and the losers final is at the same time. Also, we have several different fun other things happening, one of which is the return of the What's WOG Got to Do With It tournament, which is what we called it last year, which is the best War Boss tournament. Seth won last year, so he's come back to defend his honor, and he'll be defending it against Chuck and Lucas and Steve Trimble, all three of which have played significant orcs in 9th edition. They're all going to have very different lists, and they're going to play them into each other. It's going to be great. That is an incredible thing, and if you're an orc player, that'll be amazing. It's not quite as ridiculous as the Tyranid version of that. So the Tyranid version of that has John Lennon, Alex McDougall, Tyler Bortel, and Matt Evans. I have not looked at the math on this, but I'm pretty sure I couldn't assemble 4 people that have more Tyranid wins, period. Like, I don't think as an aggregate, I don't think that group will be beaten by any other group in tournament wins. Alex has won by far the most tournaments as Tyranids of anybody. John's won a lot. Tyler's an uppercutting player that wins quite a bit. Matt just won Storm. They are all incredible Tyranid players. They're all going to make different lists from each other. We're going to have mirror matches there as well. We're going to find out who the best Hive Mind player is and why is it Alex McDougall. That's my guess, but maybe I'm wrong. We'll find out. My money's on Alex. We'll see. So that's the gist of Charity Hammer. Now, while all of this is happening, there's going to be interviews. If hypothetically something were to come out that weekend for 40K, we'll make sure to pull a panel together and discuss it. That's what we did last year when Thousand Suns came out. But that's basically the gist of Charity Hammer. We're going to go live. We're going to play 40K. We're going to be very entertaining and very informative with some of the best players in the world. You guys are going to watch. If you miss any of it, it's all going to be online later. And you're going to donate because sick kids suck. Wait, that doesn't sound right.
That's not the line.
Because we don't like sick children.
No. To eliminate sick children, no.
Yeah.
Hospitals suck for sick kids.
No.
It's not really less sick kids either. Really, this is going downhill quickly. All right, let's move on.
To entertain sick children.
Did you just say taint sick children?
Entertain?
Oh, okay.
Where's your head at?
The video games and toys will continue until morale improves.
That's right.
Okay, how about that?
That's pretty good.
Right. All right. Okay, if you guys have any questions about Charity Hammer or anything else, hit it in the whatchamacallit thing.
The chat?
In the chatty chat, yeah. Chat, of course. All right, so that's what we've got going on with Charity Hammer. Lots more to come very, very soon. If you want to not miss anything, subscribe to YouTube, Best in Tabletop. That is your best route to knowing exactly what's happening. Okay, we will now pivot to the Storm of Silence. Mm-hmm. Mitch, would you like to tell us what the Storm of Silence is?
Absolutely. There are 2 different tournaments that are run by the Bob at the Gamers Haven and have been for, more than 10 years now, I think. And so they're the Storm of Silence and the Harvester of Souls. And so the Storm of Silence is the more competitively focused of the two. Harvester of Souls is usually a little bit more fluffy oriented, custom mission pack, and it's just about really showing off the hobby. Whereas this event is a bit more focused on the competitive best overall, which is always the largest prize pack at Bob's events, is 50% your win record. And then 25% hobby and 25% sportsman, which we do track. Every single person is required to turn in a sportsmanship ranking of all 5 of their opponents. So that is actually tracked. So if someone is having issues or is improving, they can see that progress. So we had 77 people. So we did end up having to have a ringer for the rounds, but other than that, it was a super smooth event. We were using the the Chaos Knight and Imperial Knight codexes as they dropped on the day of our cutoff. I think that's the main parts. Obviously the Gamers Haven is who's putting it on, and they are. This was the first time I got to see the new shop. I don't know about you, Chuck. Had you already seen it?
I went to the Calm before the storm, his little practice event to get ready. So this is the second time for me.
Gotcha. Yeah. For anyone in the Pacific Northwest, that is one of the premier game stores to check out. I will tell you.
Oh, yeah.
It is impressive.
It puts Spokane on the map as a place that I would willing to live.
Sure.
Because that store exists.
I had similar thoughts and conversations while I was there, because there's some more up and coming parts of Spokane we were eating in, and it's like, man, with Bob here, this is almost like, it completely. Yeah, it is literally a destination unto itself just for that store. We were able to do it in an event center across the street from the store. So heat wasn't really an issue. If it had been hotter, I think that might have been a problem, but good ventilation. And this was our first time in this venue. And the first time Storm had run in, 3 years now? 2 years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it might be 3 because it got canceled by COVID right at the gate.
Yeah, because COVID killed it right at the beginning. And then, so this is the 3 years since the event's run.
Yeah.
So I don't think I'm going to go as far as be willing to consider living in Spokane. It's a great store, but I got to tell you, there's no. I'm not going to agree on that part.
That's fine.
You weren't there.
You weren't there, man.
Stephanie calls it Spokansas.
That's a very apt, I would say. But anyway, it was from an event organizer standpoint, we had 0 sportsmanship issues, 0 chippiness.
We had 0 sportsmanship. Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, no, but everyone seemed to be having a good time. Our youngest player was 13, and he actually beat an adult. It was great to see. And it was his first major tournament, and just really, really great attitudes all around on all the tables. Everyone was really just happy to be there and having a good time. We didn't have complete walk around access for tables. But all the tables were only paired two together, so that kept accessibility pretty reasonable.
Yeah, it never came up as an issue for me.
That's good. The one problem we had is we didn't have the table boosters to get the tables up higher. I think that's the one thing I would like to do next year, so that we can slide carts underneath the tables, which will clear up the aisles a lot for the walkway. But other than that, that was when you're talking about the aisle situation at a tournament, you're really you must have had a great event.
You're digging,
trying to figure out. Another really cool thing about the event center is it has a full kitchen. Right directly attached to it, so there is a possibility down the road for maybe doing something so that lunch is included, or we'll be looking at eventually integrating that in, which just adds another bit of flavor to the event and makes it just that much more fun and communal. How about you, Chuck?
No, see, I know that Chuck this is a work call, and things have gone very sideways if they get to Chuck, because there's a call tree where they have to work their way up to Chuck. So for those that are on the podcast, Chuck has a phone up to his ear right now, which is a international signal for do not go to Chuck in the podcast.
Sorry, I was looking down because when I talk, that's what I do.
No, I was just going to say, I think that it's everything you said is so great. it's really wonderful that Bob was able to move to such a cool new location, and then to have a tournament space across the street is really, really, really cool. I was wondering what was different. Was there anything? No, actually, let's go this way. How did Knights do, Mitch? What was your impression of Knights? I'm sure you watched them play some.
So yeah, there was a lot of Knights, Chaos and Imperial.
A lot of soup or a lot of mono?
Yes, there was we had a couple of each, Imperial and Chaos to be clear there, and then the 3 Armigers or 1 Knight were bolted on pretty much everywhere you could look. Like if you saw a Thousand Suns player, I think other than maybe 1 or 2, like they had a Knight, like or they had.
There was one that was pure, but yeah,
that's what I like. I knew there was one, but it's
and he's gonna get them.
Yeah,
like,
well, and I think
the call.
I think it's definitely like in vogue at this moment with things changing going forward. We'll see. But everyone seemed to be having fun with them. I didn't see Knights like clearly being at one part of the table. I think they're going to continue to be gatekeepers, and then there's some interesting tech for being able to integrate them into specific lists. Where Thousand Suns, obviously it helps with their shooting. Like you can go with an Imperial shooting army and then get some close combat that can kind of be a buffer for you. There's some different ways you can really work with that, and I just don't know if it's going to be. If it's the short term right now, like everyone's going to have 3 Armigers, and then, no one's going to be using them in 3 months, and we'll be moved on to the next thing. I'm not sure what the staying power of it is, but it's definitely cool tech.
I don't know in the Imperium. I think on the Chaos side, they're here to stay.
I think that's a totally valid.
CSM looks amazing, Chuck.
Yeah.
Right, but then that will only be for CSM. Thousand Suns and Death Guard are what they are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
and they need additional long range shooting. Death Guard wishes they could have 3 Helverins and 3. They just wish they could be Chaos Knights, really.
Yeah.
But they add speed and shooting, which is pretty valuable. But for Thousand Suns, I'm very confident.
I think that's a very valid point. I'm speaking from my Imperial shooting privilege.
For CSM, I'm certainly hoping the Obliterators obliterate the need for any Helverins.
Oh yeah. Well, I can't wait to see how
sure
many D6s you have to roll on that table to figure out what they shoot.
I think they're on the list at GW of never being able to have good rules. I don't know.
No, they had good rules one time, and they were like, no more.
It's the Abominant Club.
Yeah. We're just, we should be getting out of jail now. So
instead of all the randomness on their guns, it's my latest take on them is give them 36-inch range, and that makes them incredible.
Yeah. Well, they used to be pick a gun, las cannon, multi-melta, plasma cannon, assault cannon, heavy bolter, shoot it. Don't shoot the same gun next turn. That was wonderful.
Yeah, that's cool.
That sounds neat. So before you talk about your list, Chuck, I want to say, since the Thousand Suns book came out, I've been really impressed with that codex. As a mono codex goes, I think that book has been very unfairly disrespected. We had Zach in our meta wrecking people with that book. He would lose to whatever the most broken possible thing is, right? He would lose occasionally to S tier, Drakari, or Tyranids or whatever, but he would wreck everyone else. He won a GT with it, and the whole time he was complaining about long range shooting, right? The whole time. And in fact, he put those terrible, what are they, soul grinders? Is that what they're called? Forge Fiends. He put, soul grinders are the things you were summoning with that, right? Forge Fiends. You put Forge Fiends in, and I played against them, and I'm like, those things are terrible. And he's like, I know, but they're my only long range shooting. And I'm like, they're here to kill raiders. And I'm like, they don't do that. Yeah. So when the Nightbook came out, immediately people were sending me Thousand Suns lists with Knights in it. And I'm really excited to hear about this because I want that to be a good army. So with that, Chuck, why don't you tell us about your Thousand Suns of Knights list?
Real quick, just to tack on there.
Yeah, sure.
Watching Chuck play his list, because I got to check in on those games. That's one of the only Chaos lists. That and his summoning list are the only 2 Chaos lists I've ever seen where I'm like, oh man, those mechanics make me actually consider doing
Come on
that.
over. We have a little taste.
No.
If you want to, I could loan you some minis. I can make it.
See, this
really
is how
easy.
Chaos works. Citizens of the Imperium. No.
Just try it one time.
The first model's free.
Yeah.
No, it's really, they really are cool. And there is a, like, the only word I can come up with is like a texture to their rule set. Like when I watch them play, there's a feel that I find it's just satisfying to watch even. And yeah, I agree with Colin. I don't know that, like, I mean, there are other codexes that have certainly done that, but I think that the Thousand Suns, for everyone who wasn't playing them and realizing what they were, have been flying under the radar. I agree.
Well, they just, like, we played a game a little while without them, without the Knights. Like when you did Death Guard in Thousand Suns, and my Eldar fell apart against them, right? Like, and I didn't play that game particularly well, but like it's rare for my Eldar to fall apart, right? That was a big deal. And it was because of the just raw durability and output of the Thousand Suns. Like it's just a good book, and it never stopped being good, and now it's been elevated up. And I'm hoping it's S-. I really am. Like I'm hoping that it is that it brings Thousand Suns into the relevant conversation.
So I would also say that this is a great example of when people talk about internally balanced codexes. And like, what does that mean? Like for the greater, like, where does that book sit? The Thousand Suns book is a really well built, internally balanced codex. In some ways, it needed to be nerfed.
The units you know about are
the
units you've never heard of are turbo bad.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm not talking about that. What I'm trying to say is that a good codex, a well-balanced codex, will stay steady as the meta goes up and down. And so sometimes they're going to be S tier minus, like Colin's talking about, because the tide is lower in the areas that they're weak against. And sometimes that tide is higher and they're just going to be A tier or, A minus. But yeah, I think that Colin really hit on something there, that it is a sleeper dex.
Well, and it came out at the same time as Grey Knights, which people liked better. Yeah. And I never liked the Grey Knights book better. I think Grey Knights are cool, but like it was Codex Dread Knight for a while, and I've got I don't think that's neat. Like I don't. Sorry. I know that it was cool, Mitch, to see you play them with Telemon, right? That was cool, but like that was just an undercosted thing that did more than it should for its points. That's not a cool codex.
Pardon me, sir. It was an undercosted giant robot.
I know.
Let's not undersell it.
Which is cool, but if you're comparing that to the overall rule set of Thousand Suns, I thought the Thousand Suns book was cool. And now I understand Grey Knights are good as well, and probably with Armor of Contempt, they're probably crazy. So that I'm not.
There were a lot of them at the
Thousand Suns book better. That's all I'm saying.
And I think along that argument, it's really good to note that Hank built that. Basically, it's a mirror of my list with Grey Knights. Mm-hmm. And we're still not sure which one's the right one to pick.
Yeah, I'm excited to try the GK
really
one.
Interesting value. So, Mitch, if you do like this list and you want to stay loyal, you can try the second-hand version.
Well, you played it at the RTP. You played it. You guys played basically the Grey Knight version and the Thousand Suns version into each other.
We played into each other. It was very interesting.
Yeah.
Right. I think I win that particular game, but I don't know. Maybe that list wins more games. It's hard to say. I'd have to have some experience. But
all right, let's talk about your list. What do you got?
Let's go through it. All right, so it's a Cult of Duplicity patrol. I take a Demon Prince with a sword. He gets the redeploy Warlord trait and the Umberlific Crystal so that I can pick up a unit and teleport it once a game. Beyond that, he's taking the Glamour of Zeech, which is a -1 to be hit, and then Gaze of Hate, which is the roll 3 dice, and each 4-up does a mortal wound to a target with an 18.
By just looking at them mean.
Yeah, you just look at them really mean. Then they take hopefully 1 mortal, and you spend some Cabal points and do D3 more, and then you maybe kill a character. Like, it's pretty neat for a 5-cost power. Then I take Aramon. I put him on a disc. In particular, because I'm Duplicity and my units are going to jump around, I need him to also like move at speed so that he can get somewhere safe quite often. So I was really glad that he was on the disc. He takes a lot of the firepower in the Psychic Range. He's got the Zeech Firestorm and the Doom Bolt. He's just pumping out mortals. And then he's got Presage. It's one of the more important 7-cost powers. And since Aramon does rerolls on all failed powers, it's super good to have that here. For my troop choice, I took 5 Rubric Marines and I gave them 4 Warp Flamers and an Icon of Flame. That just gives me 1 more Cabal point. It means in a lot of different scenarios, I have the ability to auto pass a power, even after I've taken some casualties, by having them hanging out in the back, which is incredibly important because the duplicity power is an 8. And I want to make sure that I'm able to teleport when I need to.
Mm-hmm.
Then the beef of the list shows up. 2 10-man Scarab Occult Terminators. They have all of the guns. One of them has the Rite of Coalescence. They both have Temporal Surge. So, that, I mean, where I need to warp time is there. Like, they just carry it themselves. To supplement some of that, I have 5 Chaos Spawn, a single Chaos Spawn, and then an Agent of Chaos Super Heavy Auxiliary Detachment with 3 War Dog Executioners. They have the Worthy Offering, which is +1 to hit monsters, characters, and vehicles, because what I want them for is to kill vehicles. Turned out that was an incredibly good choice over the course of the event. And then they also have a little 15-point upgrade for the Mirror of Fates. This gives me a 5-up command point farm off of each stratagem my opponent uses. And when that guy kills 5 wounds worth of stuff, it comes on, and then it gives me a once per battle round I can change an already rolled hit, wound, or save into a 6 for him. So he turns into kind of like just, a little bit of boost. And he usually gets that on the first turn. He's ridiculous. So that's the list. I do kind of...
Hold on. You missed your knights.
Yeah, the 3 War Dog Executioners.
Okay.
Yeah, they're there.
Okay.
He covered the Worthy Offering.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yep. So that's it. There's a couple things I would change about it. We'll go into that after we finish up some of these games. Would you mind reading out my first opponent?
Well, one of the kind of the oldest, most OG members of our community, right? You had Sean Nesto in the first round playing Chaos Knights.
Him and I's first game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
We just stop and think and lurk it through, but we're pretty sure it's our first game.
I don't think I've played him either, but he's been at tournaments that I've been at the whole time I've been playing.
Yeah, he's always there. Always get to check in with him and stuff, but just never gotten a game.
Yeah. He's been a patron a number of times for us too, so we appreciate that. So Chaos Knights, House Vixtrix. Which one's House Vixtrix, Chuck?
Rerolled hit and to wound. 1 each.
Oh, okay. Okay.
One time each. Reroll 1 dice to hit, reroll 1 dice to wound.
I like the idea that there would be a Chaos chapter that's reroll all your hits and all your wounds.
Yeah.
Combat and shooting. Sounds good.
You have to reroll all of it though, not just the hits or the wound. Like you take all your successes and failures. It's a lot more dice for no reason.
It's just a do-over. In Marvel, they have that. In the Marvel Craft Protocol, they have some people that where you have to reroll your entire hit. You have to do it over again, which is interesting. All right, so he's got a Knight Desecrator, and then he's got 3 War Dog Brigands with Diabolus Heavy Stubbers. That's fun. And then 3 Executioners, and then 3 Huntsmen, for a total of 1,850 points. And then 150 points of reinforcements, evidently.
Yes. So Sean, we're going to go into his secondaries, and I'll talk about how I did the game. So he took to the last Warp Ritual and Stranglehold. His Warp Ritual character is one of the baby knights, and his other character is the big knight. He went first. He moved into the center of the table. He tried to get his knight up close enough to do the Warp Ritual. It didn't work out. I killed both of his characters, so now he could never bring any of his reserves in. Also blocking out his Psychic Ritual. And then also stole his Stranglehold capabilities. And I didn't let up from there. My list is incredibly efficient at killing vehicles. I zeroed out all of his secondaries. He pushed hard on the primary, but like when you're zeroed on all of your secondaries, you're not getting anywhere. So The game was over pretty quick. We played through it pretty fast.
What do you think he could have taken? I think Warp Ritual, when he's only got 2 people that aren't targetable, is pretty bad.
I don't think you should Warp Ritual.
What do you think he should have taken?
I think Thin would have been fine. I don't give up a ton of Thin points, but it's something he's going to already be doing.
Yeah.
And to the last is also a bad choice. Like, I don't think he understood the damage that my list put out. Like, his first move didn't respect, because the Terminators just both stepped out and then the Helverins went to town, and it was just stuff died everywhere.
Yeah, you have so much shooting.
Yeah. And then I charged into him with the Terminators. It was gross everywhere, right?
Okay. All right.
I spent all my command points on the first turn, but he was crippled.
What was he going to summon with his 150 points? Do we know?
He was thinking about Flamers. I explained to him that they're 1 damage and that all my guys get +1, so he was going to do some Nurglings just some backfield. Basically,
Yeah.
summons a unit behind him, so he doesn't have to hold that, and then sends his stuff in.
Oh, I like that.
If he'd done that, I think it would have also been poorly because it's not enough to keep me from teleporting back there.
Okay.
And then I'd shoot him off. Like I have a lot of flexibility, and that kind of flexibility takes advantage of those kinds of battle plans. So,
All right. Well, 100 to 30 is a pretty good first start to your tournament.
yeah.
And then you played Imperial Knights in the next round.
Yeah. This list looks almost exactly the same.
It was very funny to have Chuck finish his game so quickly because he is not used to that.
Yeah.
And he was kind of just walking around like, this is not
what
like
now?
I'm supposed to be like slightly sweaty and mentally taxed at this moment, but I'm just comfortable. I don't know what to do with this. It was great.
That's fun. That was that T shift where I was playing Triptide at a big tournament for the first time.
Mhm.
And I was just like the Triptides were just wrecking people. And I would be like, I have 2 hours left and then an hour lunch. What do I even do now?
Yeah. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I can get a game back.
We normally call that Eldar player privilege, but
Yeah, well, I'm not going to comment on that. Okay, so this is House Raven, and it has 4 Helvrins, and then 6 Warglaves and a Knight Crusader. How'd I do? Yeah, looks right.
Yeah, sounds right.
No summoning points in this one.
No, yeah. The Imperium gave that up a few editions ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, the real big difference in his list is he has the ability to give 3 War Dogs -1 damage. And he understood my firepower. So he would give some War Dogs -1 damage, and he would send them in to hold his objectives. Actually, he's doing Renew the Oath, which is the one where he does an action on the center objective with a knight. Stranglehold and To the Last. He kept his To the Last in the back, and he sacrificed armigers one at a time to make sure he got his other points. And I still have to expose to kill the 3 of them, and then he gets to fire back at me. So he's doing some damage to me over the course of the game. But in the end, what come down to it is he won by 8 points. And it's just in a couple of small play errors. There's one turn where I exposed my Terminators and I forgot to do the -1 damage. And he's shooting at them with Helvrins, so that's massive, right? Like it doubles. It would have halved the damage they did. So I lost all 10, where I would have only gone down to 5. That's massive. And then I forgot my mental interrogation a couple of turns. So if you consider those errors, like that game was well within my reach, and it felt really good, and it was really interesting to play. We did a lot of sort of mid-table shenanigans of him trying to push, 2 armigers on, and then I would kill an armiger and just barely get 6 Terminators onto the center to take it back. And there was a lot of very intricate play at the center, while we also just hammered each other with guns around the edges. It was a really, really exciting game to play in.
Someone wants to know how worried you are about fighting a guard army with Relic of Lost Cadia with your list.
Well, first turn, Aramon receives orders, and he gets his ass launched into that army, and he dumps mortal wounds on that character, and we don't have to deal with the relic. Now, I've lost Aramon for this privilege. Well worth it. But they're still going to be, slightly mad about Cadia. And as long as they don't have a super heavy, I think I'm fine. But if they have a super heavy, I have problems.
So I think it's still like a lot of no AP shooting isn't actually good against you.
No.
Like Guard has some tanks, but your Helvrins just eat them.
The tank commanders will be the part that does it, because they're 2 up saves now.
Real quick, I love this discussion, but just to be clear, there were 0 guard players at this event.
Yeah.
Guard is the worst performing faction in the game.
Yeah, the chances of that happening were none. But with guard, the Relic of Lost Cadia is more common now. But in general, like the only way that it's going to have a chance of even being used, you have to have a transport to hide it in. But the problem isn't the losing the relic. It's that you cannot, if you do not have the right tank commanders, or you lose those tank commanders, you cannot eat through the Terminators, and the Terminators just destroy your entire army.
Yep. And I also don't think the tank commanders do anything to those Terminator bricks, even with rerolls. So
they do. It's a little, but
if you have 4, if you have like 3 or 4 of them, that's where they can be like, oh, hey, I'm going to kill like 8 of these guys. Like, but that,
if I'm really disciplined about remembering to save my CP in order to do the -1 damage, the guard hit a lot less hard because they're
For sure.
D3s and 3s, and it just all slides.
Well, and the D6s. The D6s are where the
But even
can be
then,
hard.
at that point, you have to roll a 4-up, right, to get a whole Terminator.
Yep.
But that's actually a thing really interesting to going. Having the two use the Terminators over the course of a couple of practice games in this game, what I really found myself doing is I launch one Terminator brick out and the other one into a safe spot, do a bunch of shooting. My opponent kills most of that Terminator brick I sent, but then I shoot at them again. And since I focus on what can hurt the Terminators, that second unit of Terminators is just like, well, I'm invincible now. Here I come. It's sort of the how the army ends up playing every time, right?
The
Regardless-
question is wondering if guard rerolls against chaos make up for the main guard in these matchups, and we don't think they do. That's what we're saying.
No, not enough. You can still guard have a way to ignore cover, but that means that your shooting and your astropath are within 18 inches, which is possible for the first Terminator brick, but he's going to control where the other one is. There's a lot of guard can't handle Terminators very well. They can do it. Again, you can have Relic for Lost Cadia. You can have Old Grudges for the other one. There are some things you can do, and if you play it just right, guard can absolutely wipe a Terminator brick off the table, but that is not a consistent outcome. There's a whole spectrum of math where that is not what happens, and you have exposed a lot of your army for not the return you needed. So it's going to be a game, but I don't think that the guard player is as up as
And that's a scenario where the guard player
let's be clear. Guard is the oldest non-reprinted codex right now.
It's the highest value codex you could have bought in 8th edition because you're getting like 6 years out of it. It's super high value, guys. You should be great.
All right.
Everyone
next
else has
up-
to pay $40 for new rules every 3 years.
I'm a guard player, and even I don't want to hear about this anymore. So we're going to move on and talk about Scott Russell. Now, Scott brought Grey Knights, which we just talked about, but no Knights, no Kniggets with this.
Nope.
And he's sword bearers. Which one are sword bearers, guys?
This is the mortal wounds in combat, I think. Right, Mitch?
Okay.
Yeah, they are the fighty one, I do believe.
Okay. And he's got a librarian, and he's got a grandmaster and nemesis dread knight, and then he's got 4 units of strike squad bros. Looks like 3 with halberds, 1 with swords. He's got a 5-man paladin squad, and then a 3-man purifier squad. I don't know what that does. Is that 5 people? That's 5 people. 5-man purifier squad, and then 2 interceptor squads and 2 dread knights. So pretty standard Grey Knights, it looks like to me.
Is it? I think there's a 6 paladins as well.
Yeah. Yes.
Maybe I just missed it.
I said 5, and I think 6 is right. But
6,
as you know, battle scribe for units like that is very hard to read.
Pretty rough, yeah.
Yeah.
So
what happened here?
This was a very brutal game. I took Stranglehold, No Prisoners, Psychic Ritual. I took Psychic Ritual knowing that turns 3 and 4, maybe 5, I could cast without him getting in my way. Because my shooting has a lot of AP, and his shooting has none, and is usually damage 1. So even when he's shooting at my rubrics, they're 2-up saves. I learned this playing the game we were talking about earlier with JT, right? And he had the Hellfreds to punish me for being in the open. But in this game, the only thing I have to worry about shooting me is the Dread Knights. So I got the Dread Knights to come out and shoot me. I caught one out with Temporal Surging my Terminators and charged the character guy who, when you shoot him, he gets to teleport away. And I got him on a charge, and then the Terminators just waste him. Turns out Dread Knight, they don't get the Armor of Contempt for, I don't know why, because they did bad things in the past and they're not allowed to have things anymore. But they also don't have any -1 damage or anything, so those swords just chopped him right up, pushed him out of the way, and then I killed the other 2 pretty quickly, which meant that he had a bunch of very powerful close combat guys who move 6 inches. So I'm just like, okay, I teleport, I temporal surge, I move around, I'm killing everything you have. So I put him in kind of a bad spot. He made a big push to put those 6 paladins on the center point. And my Helverins just walked around a corner and opened fire. And I'd say I went a little bit hot, but still, they picked up all 6 of them. So even if it had gone as planned and they picked up 4 of them, demons would have come in and finished them. But I think it's really important. This is a good spot to talk about how most of the Thousand Sun shooting does 1 damage. It's high AP, single damage shooting. That's wonderful. The Helverins are then doing AP 2 damage, 3 damage coming in. So it's just very different. So I get to pick the targets that I want to interact with my shooting, because they're both have enough range and enough maneuverability to say, okay, this is where I'm going to put my damage. So I'm always optimizing my output. And then that Demon Prince, who I was seriously considering removing as the tournament started, and just didn't have time. He's absolutely going to stay in because he's damage 3 in close combat. It's similar, right? The Terminators are doing damage 2, and sometimes things have -1 damage, and the Prince needs to go do that. So he brings a lot of value in that one very specific way. The other way he does it is sometime in the middle of the game, like it did in this game, or I'm scrumming with the person on the center of the table. The Prince just shoots out of the combat over my opponent's lines and charges some of his backfield stuff and takes the home objective away. I think he did that in probably 3 or 4 of my games, and at least swung me 4 points after 3 turns of smiting and casting and punching.
I thought he was the thing you said you didn't like.
I didn't, and in this tournament, he was just gold every day.
Oh,
so
okay. Weird.
What turned out to be bad is the 5 spawn. I didn't mention them in any of these games. They sat on home field objectives and were like, we're spawn. We're 115 points holding an objective down. We could just be 50 points for cultists. So, in the end, though, I managed to win this game 97-57. And you could see it's in you look at the scoreboard, it's like, it looks, we're in a good spot. We're in a good spot, good game. And then you can see the point where his army drops off and the points just stop coming.
Yeah.
And it was just over on turn 3.
Like, I don't have things anymore. That's not good.
I did leave him on his corner objective. There was no way for him to catch up, and there was no reason for me to risk going over there to fight him, because like if I sent something over there and it went weird and he killed it and then he like jumped out and jumped me, that's like the only way I could lose the game. And I was really proud of myself for just staying where I was and being like, if you come out of your hole, I kill you.
Mm-hmm.
You can have precisely 5 points a turn. Go.
Mm-hmm. So the next morning, you get our buddy Mitchell Hunter, who is coming to Charity Hammer.
Yeah.
Playing Emperor's Chosen. And he's got himself the Jerk on a bike.
Mm-hmm.
And then, because that guy's a jerk, and he's on a bike. That's my creative name for him. He's got Trajan, then 4 prosecutors, 3 units of Sag, 2 Contemptor Gladys dreadnoughts, and then 3 bikes, all with salvo launchers. And that is his massively nerfed since last time we saw him Custodes list.
And so we're playing Tear Down the Icons. And this is, I think, a really interesting game. This is the quarters where you're, across from each other.
Uh-huh.
And I set up essentially in the open. I didn't really care if he shot 1 unit of Terminators. He has a bunch of missiles, but they don't eliminate the unit. The important thing about the Thousand Sun Terminators is you kill like 5 of them, you've maybe killed 25% of their shooting capability. Because all the heavy weapons are isolated onto just a couple of them, you have to get them down below 3 before.
Some of them come back too.
Yeah. I don't have time, so I have to cast a power on a 9 or better to bring a guy back.
Oh, okay.
So probably 2 or 3 times during the event overall, I brought a guy back.
Okay.
It's usually pretty catastrophic for my opponent when it does, right? Like, because it means an extra 3.5 inches or something.
Yeah, you're making a 4-inch charge now. Yeah.
It's gross. Yeah. So he decided to send the dreadnoughts and his bike captain on my left flank and try to pressure me while he took the center. So he took the center by putting Trajan and 3 units of Sagittarium Guard behind a wall next to the center objective. I will say lucky enough, not skilled enough. I didn't see this coming, but I put my first piece of terrain down close enough to the center that he couldn't actually put the wall on the objective. So at least he had to send a unit out every turn to be on the objective to get blown up. But he had Stranglehold in a really powerful way, because if I ever went to that center objective and put stuff on it, his whole army would just come crashing down on it, right? So he's coming around on the flank, 2 dreadnoughts and his bike captain. And again, I think this is probably a situation where people don't really understand how much Thousand Sun shooting does, also when backed up by the Helverins. but I mowed through that stuff. And then I went to superpowered psychic phase and finished it the following turn. So he lost everything on that flank. So all he's got is the center, and he's got his bikes in the back, holding his objectives and such. What's important about that is those bikes are his to the last targets. So I just threw everything I had into the center and started mowing that up. And as soon as I finished off the center, no matter the fact that I took pretty heavy casualties, he then had to engage with his bikes, which were his to the lasts. And as the bikes came out, the hoverins took angles and went, pop, 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 you're out of here. And then that's kind of the end of it, right? Like I eliminated his ability to play the game without the bikes. And then when the bikes played, they died quick and easy, and the score slid into my favor.
I would like to take this opportunity to say again that To the Last is a crappy secondary that people take because they think it's going to be easy points. And it only is good points in a game that you are stomping someone, or in a game where both people are going to sit back and not interact with each other. You can't predict that.
So
the rumors are that it's gone from the game, and God, I hope it is, because it encourages people to play the game in a way that I don't believe the game is designed for. I don't think the GW intended the game to be, okay, I'm going to sit over here and score 97. You're going to score over there in 97. How are we going to stop each other? That's dumb. I don't think that's what they intended. So I hope that those rumors are true. I have no idea if they are. But in the meantime, stop taking them every game just because you think it's good. Jesus. Really drives me crazy.
I did score 13 points onto the last in this game.
It's so dumb.
I mean, technically, I think like stop taking it because it's not good, but take the secondaries you think are good for your list. It's not bad to think you're good or it's good. Like just reevaluate. Track if you actually track your scores through events and through practice games, you should be able to really see what is consistent, and then you should know the matchups where it fails you and when to bail on any secondary. That's just how you should run through all of them.
Yeah, that's fair. My criticism is more about taking it by default in every game, which lots of people do, rather than thinking through. Like Chuck can look at the game and say, will this person kill my Terminator bricks? Yep. Right? He can just decide that.
Well, I have to decide, how am I going to use my Terminator bricks? Am I going to launch these at my opponent and control the table for 4 turns while he kills them all? Well, that's not to the last. Or am I going to threaten over here in my corner and control the table? And then I pick to the last, right? Like but that's hard. That's not an easy choice to make. And you're locking yourself in, which eliminates your ability to change your mind if you were wrong about something. So it's dangerous.
So this is just adjacent to this. To give people who maybe haven't been to a tournament in a while an idea of how killy the game is, I saw multiple Telemon just picked up like they were nothing.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Like that is, and that was not the case 6 months ago. That wasn't like that was like, that is an amount of firepower that is hard to comprehend. And I understand that obviously they don't have all the buffs that they used to and stuff, but I had unbuffed Telemon survive entire armies of shooting. It might be with 1 or 2 wounds or something, but they would usually be able to make it through. To have them be like, oh yeah, these 2 units shoot at that Telemon. Oh, 1 killed it. I guess I'll shoot this at the other thing. Like is just ridiculous. So
my solution has been to dedicate the Helverins with Terminators able to shoot it if they come up short.
Yep. No, that's a great way to do it.
And Mitch, it didn't look like anybody was playing Hail of Doom at Storm.
I didn't see any.
No, I did not see that.
Which is just preposterous output. Yeah. So if you guys think that these examples are killy, the best Elder list in the game is a Leaf Blower.
Yeah.
So just so you know,
it doesn't stop shooting.
Yeah, just
like you never finished the first
talk about
phase.
This before. I'm going to tangent for just a second on this. I had been saying that Ulthway is as good as Hail, and it might be, but nobody's really playing Ulthway except Hank and I and a few other people. I've looked at it. I've read the stats. I'm willing to tip my hat at this point that Hail is probably just better than Ulthway. But I do think Hail is much more likely to get nerfed. What's interesting at this tournament is that Hank was the top performing Eldar player with Ulthway, but there wasn't a good Hail player to compare against. So just as a note about Eldar, because I know people are coming to me saying, hey, you keep telling me that Ulthway is good. Ulthway is great. It's super good. It's plenty good enough to play, but I don't believe that it's as good as Hail just because of math. So just to update my take on that from previous episodes.
Yeah. I also think like Hank did really well at this event, and in general, he's doing very well. Like he's very kind of at the top of his game and really putting the effort in. I think he's probably lifting the list even more because it's so it's rewarding for having skill.
Mhm.
And then, when you put the effort in, it like pushes it up that extra bit. But
And the problem is that that was my big criticism of Hale, is that it was more mindless. But now that I've watched Nick play it and I've thought about it more, it's not. It's the same.
It has a mindless giant hammer, but that doesn't make the list mindless, right? It has a lot of crap to throw around and stuff to do. It's just has both. Which
Nick's army is tabling you. He also has this infinite amounts of trash to play the mission with.
Yeah,
like it's really rude. Hank had a really good tournament. He went 4-1. He did lose to a Tyranid player, but it's Tyranids, and Pyrovores are a really big problem.
I mean, spoiler: everyone lost to a Tyranid player.
Yeah, that's right. The top 3 undefeated were all Tyranids. For those that are wondering why we're not talking to the winner. Also because he's coming to Charity Hammer, so we'll see him there.
Yeah.
All right. Sweet. So should we talk about your final game?
I want to finish the game with Mitchell. So I came out with 94-60 on this, and that's mostly about killing enough of his army to force him to come play the center, which he was not able to. He had to take his small percentage chance that he won, because if he just sat in the corner, he knew he was gone. This brings Mitchell and I to 2-1. We were kind of talking about him early as this really up and coming person. He is probably one of my favorite people to play at a tournament.
Mm-hmm.
He's very thoughtful. He very much understands his codex and his rules and his army and the way it plays. So it's always this very engaging, like at the strategic level and kind of the tactical level, like where you're like, how I'm playing the game versus like, and how I'm executing on everything. Like all of that is always really good. And he wore me out. I enjoyed taking a lunch break and letting my brain just be flatlined for a minute while I kind of reset. So I gave him my top favorite opponent. He's an amazing guy. So
the Tri-Cities area is a really up and coming meta. They've got a lot of they've got like I think about 4 guys who are really traveling right now, and all of them are really really impressive. I remember we played against their team at the team tournament last year. Mm-hmm. And it's just another area where we're seeing a lot of growth. It's awesome to see another scene just develop and have like just awesome people pop up, and you're like, oh, cool, more friends.
Yeah, when you look at the map, we're kind of getting hemmed in.
He's in the Tri-Cities, so I apologize for that.
He could still be like right there in Idaho. I mean,
okay,
all right, game 5.
Now, so just we're clear, you played Chaos and then 3 Imperium players, right?
Well, I played Chaos Knights, Imperial Knights, and Grey Knights. I got all the Knights out of the way day 1. That's all the Knights in the game. And then I was like, you know what? If you finish all the Knights, you need to do some Custodes.
And then finally some Ultramarines.
Some Ultramarines to finish it all off.
Yep. So
Cass's army is great.
What's that?
His army is great. I want to give him props. He's probably one of my favorite looking armies. He nailed the bright, vibrant blue with a lot of darker background to it. So like you couldn't help but look at his army when you walked by it. He's just incredible painter. I loved looking at it, and it was a super joy to get to play him because of that. It was amazing.
Great display board. Yeah, he really brought like on the hobby side and on the competitive side, just a great attitude. Another person who is newer to our meta and just awesome. Like he was talking to people whenever he could, like in between, and just making friends, and it's just super cool to see.
Nice. Well, his list has Tiggy, and then has a librarian in Phobos armor, and then a Primaris chaplain on bike. And then he's got a unit of 5 incursors, a unit of 5 infiltrators, a unit of 10 infiltrators. Then he's got an apothecary, an honor guard, and then 2 units of devastators. With one has 3 grav and a multi-melta. The other one has 3 multi-melta and a grav. Then he's got 3 eradicators of melta rifles, a drop pod. I know who's in that, and 2 land speeder storms, which, as everybody knows, is one of the most undercosted units in the game. All right.
Yeah. So unsurprisingly, some devastators win in the drop pod.
Weird.
So we both deployed pretty safe because we both, I think, respected each other's alpha strike. I put a lot of time into making it so he couldn't land the devastators and have range to shoot my Helvrins without my Terminators getting to shoot them first, which is basically what it was all about. I was fine if if his Devastators landed and he shot at the Terminators, as long as I remembered to spend my 3 CP and -1 damage all those grabs, they'd all be hitting for 1. I get +1 save, plus Armor of Contempt, plus some terrain. It's like I get 3 ups on it or something, or 3 or 4 ups. I don't remember. But
Grab is 2 damage now?
yeah, 2 damage against armor 3 or better.
Okay.
So,
Grav has come back for Armor of Contempt. Like,
yeah,
it's really appealing now.
Yeah, getting the high AP and the damage there. So he went first. He saw what I had laid, and he dropped his drop pod behind a building in his deployment zone. So now it's holding his backfield objective, which I think is great. Great way to use that. And the Devastators all got out on the other side of the building, towing into it and being like, "We're in cover," and Armor Contempt. And he shot at me. He killed some of those Terminators and killed like 4 of them. And that was all fine. That was sort of acceptable losses, I guess. Come my turn, I come out of hiding. This is his long range shooting. If I eliminate it, the tempo of the game is mine from here on out. I shoot at them. They just don't die. I killed like 1 Devastator, which he then put back with an Apothecary with my first round of shooting. This is all the Helverins and the Terminators. Nothing. So I was all right. That's a thing that happened. And then I learned about the wonderful combination he has in his army from that point forward. Because I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to keep shooting at you. I'm locked into this, so we're going to keep aggressing. He has his Phobos Librarian. He says if you're within 18 inches of me and you cast a spell, you're -1 to cast, and if you fail, you perils. And then Tiggy's +1 to deny, with I think 2 or 3 denies. So he moves those characters up with his ball there, and it actually becomes really hard to be Thousand Suns.
Oh,
I don't
Bobby
have a
G
ton
is
of
in
cast.
this list, Chuck.
Oh yeah, Bobby G came.
Good lord, I'm like, you're talking about it. I'm like, he has nothing in his army. Where's the rest of his army? Because I totally missed that. What's Bobby G these days? 300 points?
Yeah.
380?
Oh.
So yeah, I totally missed 400 points of the guy's list. Sorry, go ahead.
It's also really good because we're going to get to him here in a second in the story, so I'm glad you mentioned it, so it doesn't get erased. He hammers me back again, and this is the first time I lost faith that I would be able to hold and shoot somebody to death in the tournament. I thought if I have another turn where I don't do a lot of damage, it's going to go sort of sideways. So I came in and I went real hot with mortal wounds to try to take out the interceptors that were kind of up in my face and threatening my objectives, which that -1 cast and +1 deny really put a hole in the damage I did there. And 10 intercessors takes a long time to kill anyway, right? So I'm kind of coming up short there, but then I shoot my second unit of Terminators, and they were just like, nope, no more saves. I'm going to kill 1 whole unit of Devastators, and then the Helverin did some more damage to the next unit, and finally there was like that breaking point where now I own long range shooting. So what I have to do from this point forward is just make sure that my points stay in a good spot. The problem with that is it's turn 3, and he still has enough existence. So this is where a really good example. I teleport the Terminators over to where the 5 spawn are. I move the 5 spawn up in a long conga line, and then I temporal surge them to move forward again, and charge one of his backfield objective with spawn and kill all the some sort of forward deploy Primaris Marine. I don't remember which one of the 2 it was.
Infiltrator.
Yeah. He had one of each of them. I don't know which one was which. But regardless, it's the only thing that Spawn enjoy killing is Primaris Marines, so he just worked right through them. I took down his banner, and I took his home field objective, take some of his scores off the board there. And then he has to deal with that, so it takes some of the shooting off of my army while I encroach. He turns and he shoots. He kills 3 of them. This is really important because if you remember correctly, his other backfield objective has a drop pod on it. So those other 2 on my next turn go running off and charge into the drop pod and touch the home objective there, and enter into a combat that will never end, but will resolve in me holding that backfield objective.
The curse of the drop pod.
Yeah,
Meet again.
I knew I needed to do it. But anyway, on this turn where I send my spawn in, he sees what's happening and he sends in Gilliman. Gilliman melts Terminators. I did not. I thought I was respecting him, and I did not respect him enough. He did impressive amounts of damage. I think he killed off 6 of them in one go. But Gilliman does not soak mortal wounds in any positive way, so I almost killed him and then finished him off in the shooting, and then he failed his 4-up save. I'd think if he had not failed that 4-up save, this game would have flipped to Cass or over me. So it was like kind of cool when a game in like you're at the final round of the tournament and it comes down to like there's a coin flip moment where like if this goes the other way, we're kind of done. So I've got bad secondaries. I'm trying to do psychic interrogation, and Tiggy is saying, absolutely not. Never. You do not get these points. Turns out we're better at psychic than you are. Sorry. You're a high AP shooting army. You shouldn't have got confused and thought you were a psychic army. It's awful for me. So we're fighting back and forth. I'm tearing him up, and I remove him from the middle of the table, and suddenly there's that turn where you're like, I shot at my opponent. You look down at their army, and you're like, you have 3 characters in that squad left. The problem is that turn is turn 4, and I'm bottom of the turn. So he goes, he collects some points, and then I wipe out his guys. I think I left him with 1 character in a back corner. But because I felt like always 1 turn shy of the damage and the progress that I needed to make, we ended up tying the game 71-71. Pretty great. I think there was probably lots of opportunities for me to win that game, but I think the same is true for him. So it's hard to say which way it would have gone. But that does bring my entire tournament to a 3-1-1, and as a 3-2 player, this is improvement.
That's great.
I also think it's really notable that in the game I lost and in the game I tied, I felt very much like there's a couple of spots here where I could have improved, and it's only a few points, but it would have been enough to tilt me in both of those games. So it was like, I think everything was winnable for me. Notably, I didn't have to Tyrannid. I do have a decent plan against Tyranids, but like, still they're Tyranids. Like a decent plan gets you into a game, not into a win. So
Right.
I think that's just lucky for me in that regard.
Okay, well that's fun. I looking at his list, I can't help wondering, and I mean complete respect to him because he clearly played great.
Mm-hmm.
I can't help wondering, looking at his list, if he had 1 less character and 1 more thing, if his list would be much better. He's got about 800 points of characters and then another 70 in the drop pod. That's a very high percentage of his list to be not stuff. So just an interesting thought I had looking at his Ultramarines list. It's hard because Bobby G is so expensive that if you then take 3 other characters as well, you end up being very character heavy.
Yeah. I actually think in the game that we played, he could have done without the land speeders.
Okay.
They weren't doing anything that he needed to happen. But I think they're probably very useful in other games. So I don't know.
Well, they're also only 55 points each. So
yeah, I fully support 800 points in characters. That's amazing. That's how all this should be. It's just
I don't think I would remove any of them. If I did, I would remove the Phobos librarian. But Tiggy and Bobby G and the apothecary are all like they're core.
Oh, I wasn't even counting the apothecary.
Oh, right. What was
Sorry,
the other one? Was
900 points in characters. Excuse me. Because he has three HQs, and then the apothecary and Bobby G. Because he's got
must be forgetting one of them. What
Chaplain on Bike.
Oh, the Chaplain on Bike. Chaplain on Bike ran into my Demon Prince, failed horribly, and then got eliminated. That's why I forgot him.
Well, he's 150 points, and so he needs to get 150 points of value.
Actually, now that we've said that, that's the piece he could probably remove.
Yeah.
Because his army's not necessarily trying to make combat. He's trying to disincentivize you from having combat.
Right.
Also,
so I can do something else.
I feel like he gets so much buff power from Bobby G that like the chaplain might be a little redundant. So I guess I could see that.
That's the piece
also,
I would move.
That chaplain's the same price as one of his dev units.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like,
I think another unit of eradicators would be better or something like that.
Fine. I rarely look at people's lists and have that opinion, but like when I was reading it, my feeling was he doesn't have enough stuff. And listening to you talk through the game, I think he needed more stuff.
Yeah, he did. He needed one more. It would be really nice to have one more shooting into it, I think.
Yeah, I think it's really hard when you're building a list to look at that. And I'm the opposite direction. Like as I'm building Craft World Auto lists, I keep taking less and less and less HQs. Mm-hmm. And you end up in the situation where it's like, Baharoth is amazing. He's broken. Everyone bitches about him, and I don't take him. because I don't want 150 points or whatever he is, 140, 50, whatever points he is. I don't want that in an HQ anymore. I want that to be a unit, because in Eldar, that's a big, like for 150 points, you get like a real like thing that does something that's more valuable than he is. And so as I started looking at other people's lists, I'm starting to notice what percentage of the list is characters. What percentage of your Thousand Sons list is characters?
Let's see. It's this particular list. It's only 2 guys, so 185 and 180. So
right, that's interesting. Okay,
it's actually one of the things I like about it. Is it's very consolidated, right? Like there's nothing in my list for you to take against me.
right.
You can get 9 points off of no prisoners. If you've got no psychers, you can abhor the witch for like 12. But you're also saying I'm going to table you. Like you have to kill all the Terminators and the characters to get those points. And if you take it, I use the CP thing to switch it to the last, and I just sit in my hole and say you've lost the game.
Yeah.
So like, it's a trap.
Turns out that stratagem is good.
Yeah, it's real good. I did a lot of take 2 aggressive and 1 defensive, or 2 defensive and 1 aggressive, and then get outplayed my opponent and then be like, spend a CP, flip it, now we're fine. Or, flip it and now I'm in the driver's seat. It's pretty great.
Someone says 18.25%, but I don't know what that is.
Probably the percentage of my army to character ratio. If I did guess at it. It's not too bad.
Wonderful. Well, what are you going to do going forward?
So the 5 Chaos Spawn did the one thing in the entire tournament, which was that one that I just explained in the last game. So I'm taking them out. I'm going to actually grab my list so I do this from my head. So I'm taking those guys out. With those points, I need more. One of the things I really want is an Infernal Master, but that's a 3rd HQ slot. So I'm also taking out the Rubrics, who also didn't do a ton. They were very threatening. We could teleport at any moment and shoot flamers at everybody, but they never actually did much. And Terminators already make people screen, so I don't need any more threat there. So I take those 2 units out. I add the Infernal Master in, and for my troop choices, I grab 2 10-man units of Cultists and a 10-man unit of Zangor. And that gives me a lot of what the Spawn did most of the game, which is these 10 Zangors will stand on this objective, and nobody wants to come over here and fight me with like random crap. They have to put some actual effort in. Cultists can run up and screen charges and just generally go touch the center objective to start the game off, so I get Stranglehold, that kind of thing. And then from there, I keep the Terminators. I keep the 1 solo Spawn because he's really great. What I get out of this is the ability for the Infernal Master to say, hey, that unit of Terminators is going to be +1 strength always shooting. When those bolt guns go from strength 4 to strength 5, particularly if I then also spend CP for a +1 to wound, they do whole different avenues of damage. And he's also he's like a 1 caster. So he's great for running around doing like Psychic Ritual or Mental Interrogation or Mutated Landscape, because I don't lose much by having him take a psychic action. So I think that's kind of all upside. I think the other thing.
Are you only getting the Infernal Master? Is he a bunch of points, or?
He's only 90 points.
So did you gain more troops? I'm confused because rubrics are expensive.
Yeah, get rid of the rubrics, which gives me 20 cultists and 10 Zangors.
Okay. And then the spawn turn into the Infernal Master. That's what the deal is.
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty close to that. There's a little bit of point sharing there, but that's the idea. And then the Demon Prince is no longer going to be the redeploy and Umberlific Crystal, because I basically never needed the crystal. I already threatened enough of that people are going to defend themselves, and if they don't, I don't need help winning that game.
Okay.
So I'm giving him the Conniving Plate, which gives him a 2-up save, and you only get half your attacks if you're in engagement range of him. And then he's taking the -1 damage Warlord trait, so he will survive more of his shenanigans and get to do secondary shenanigans.
Well, that sounds gross.
Yeah. I think it's great. So that's what I got loaded in for the Best in Tabletop Open.
Okay, and then Charity Hammer. Immediately after. All right, cool. Well, what a great tournament for you.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
There is one other thing I wanted to hit on, which is the hobby at the event. So There were we've talked about Carl Payne on this podcast before. He brought a new Knights army that was a Geiger-esque theme of custom sculpting and hand painting that was just mind-blowing. And then the person who won best overall, Marshall, brought a Custodes army with freehand that I don't even know how to explain. It was mind-blowing.
There's classical paintings on all of his miniatures.
Yeah. So like he had Custodes, like his Telemon had two like saints hand painted on their shoulders. He had a shield with it looked like it was an angel that was just, he's a comic book artist. And I was talking to Bob as we were going around looking at armies, and I'm like, you could tell the capital A artists from everyone else. No, in no disrespect to everyone else. There were a lot of beautiful armies, but just there. And then there was also a Noise Marine army that was in the most obnoxious colors humanly possible, but had some of the best freehand I've ever seen.
It was it looked like a blacklight painting.
Yeah.
And I loved it on the display board because the back of the display board is the blacklight painting, and you could see it moving in and sort of fading into, like it's like the warp coming in and destroying some.
It is not an army that you're supposed to see sober, very clearly, and that nothing could be more Noise Marine. So like just that's only a few of them, but like just really great hobby all around and cool stuff to see, and tons of cool conversions for knights and crazy stuff. There was a Centaur Knight. We did see there was a Centaur Knight.
I like that.
Yeah, it was a really good event. It's actually I'm going through and painting like another layer of detail out of the Thousand Suns, because what I'm used to getting by with like coming up in the top section of hobby is just not enough anymore. Our area is going up like a lot, so I have to try to catch up.
Well, and I was talking to Carl about it, and that's what they were saying. They're like, yeah, you have to be constantly upping your game, otherwise you get left behind so quickly. And talking to Marshall, he's like, oh yeah, this was the army I was going to bring to Storm in 2020, and I just kept painting it for 2 years.
Jeez. Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, it shows. Like every single unhelmeted model had a forehead tattoo that was different and was all freehand. It was crazy.
All right. Well, that's the Storm of Silence 2022, everybody. Big shout out to Bob Kelly and Gamers Haven. If you guys are anywhere even remotely in the general vicinity of Gamers Haven, make sure to stop by and buy like lots of stuff from him. Like, he deserves it. He's a great guy, great store. Mitch, in
particular, if you happen to be anywhere near that area on September 17th and 18th, stop in and play at the Harvester.
Yep.
Because I'm sure that event will be just as good as this one, if not better. If things
probably more hobby even.
Yeah, yes. For sure.
Yeah. What I was going to say was, if you're in that area and you haven't been to Gamers Haven, or you're going to be in that area, Bob has a great used model trade-in program, and also because of that, an amazing used model selection that you should definitely check out, because that's one of the things he does where you can just come in. He gives you store credit, and so you're going to get a little more value than you would if you were maybe getting cash. And then you can just go and get the models you want, and a lot of them are just assembled and unpainted.
One of the things actually I say about his used models is all the things you said were true, but I think the most important piece is his ability to display the used models in a way that I can actually see what's going on and figure out what I want to buy is really high.
Yeah.
More than everything else, I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Actually able to shop it.
Excellent.
And they will be opening a tavern above the game shop called the Wobbly Goblin. I know that they're working on that right now. It's under construction.
They're working through all that.
Wobbly. I know that Mitchell was tasked with some plumbing questions. I know that. All right. So that was Storm of Silence 2022. Charity Hammer is coming up here. Best in Tabletop Open, June 18th, 19th, Hoquiam, Washington. Buy your tickets. There's like going to be 40 of us there. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be really great. Lots of wonderful people. Some of the basically all of the best players in the Pacific Northwest are going to be there. I think everyone's on the list. We'll look.
If you're not, you know why. No, I'm kidding.
May 18th and 19th. And then immediately after that is Charity Hammer. We're going to have just a really good time. Please, please, please go donate. You can find the link at charityhammer.com. There's a donate now link. You can go there. That's the easiest way to find it. The agenda is going to be there. The prize list is going to be there. The survey is there. Please go fill out the damn survey. That's very helpful. So you guys have a few homework assignments from this particular episode before we meet again. So please don't let us down there. Fill out that survey. If even a third of the people that listen to the show fill out that survey, we'll have tons of data to talk about. Like 5,000 people listen to a Charity Hammer episode of our show normally. So if 1,000 of people fill it out, that's a lot of people for a survey. So please go and fill it out. It really means a lot to us. We'll be back in between now and Charity Hammer to talk about Charity Hammer, basically to fill you on everything we didn't fill in here. And we look forward to that. So thank you, everyone. And we hope you have a wonderful next few weeks while we get ready for our big event of the year. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.